I found a blind general lying in the dirt, covered in blood, and for 3 years I poured my heart into nursing him back to life. On the day he finally peeled away the bandages from his eyes, I slipped away without a single word. When our paths crossed again, I was nothing more than a poor relative scraping by in the Prime Minister's mansion. He was the celebrated general everyone sought to flatter, and to make matters worse, he was engaged to the young lady of the house. She clung to his arm, pouting sweetly. Teet Lang, I disobeyed my parents and cared for you tirelessly for 3 years while you were blind. You cannot betray me. His lips curved into a gentle smile, and he replied softly, of course, that is only natural. As they spoke, his gaze drifted toward me. A year later, I saw Teet Hui again at a grand banquet in the general's mansion. I wore a plain pink dress that looked out of place among the silks and satins, my hair tied simply, my skin darkened from years of tending herbs in the sun. My fingernails still carried faint stains from grinding medicinal plants. Had I not been seated among the guests, I might as well have been a servant. Beside me sat Ha Tu, radiant and graceful, like a celestial beauty next to a humble peasant. I wondered why she had even invited me to this feast. Suddenly, Ha Tu called out, "Teet Lang." I looked up in shock and saw that familiar figure striding toward us. My mind went blank. Teet Hui's face was as handsome and sharp as ever, though weathered by battle. His tall frame moved with quiet authority, each step commanding respect. The lovely young lady beside him seemed oblivious to the eyes on her, running joyfully to his side. She had no need to care for others' opinions. Everyone knew she was the one General Teet cherished above all. No one dared speak ill of her. For years earlier, Teet Hui had fought the Mandine and suffered grievous wounds, his whereabouts unknown. The Great Qi dynasty had no general to match him. As enemy forces closed in on the capital, defeat seemed certain. Then everything changed. Teet Hui returned, and at his side was a young woman, Ha Tu. I lowered my head, hunching my shoulders, trying to make myself invisible. But Teet Hui noticed me anyway. Casually, he asked, "Who is this?" Ha Tu smiled brightly and said, "A distant cousin of mine, past marriageable age, staying with us out of charity," with just a few words. She stripped away any dignity I had left. The eyes of those around us turned to me, filled with disdain. Teet Hui gave a faint hum of acknowledgement. My face burned, my hands fidgeting nervously, but he looked away as if I were a stranger. Ha Tu was not finished with me. She clutched his sleeve and said, "Teet Lang, do any of your men have a suitable soldier to recommend for my cousin? I know your subordinates are the finest, with bright futures ahead." Sure enough, he shook his head. "No, I am sorry," I thought bitterly, of course. Someone as shabby as me could never be worthy of such men. But I remembered a time when someone had cornered me against a wall, teasing me until I was flustered, only letting me go when he was satisfied. Then the eldest princess spoke up. "Lady Ha, I hear that when General Teet was lost in a foreign land, you gave up everything to care for him, even risking your delicate throat by testing poisons for him." This banquet was no ordinary celebration. It was a public declaration of Ha Tu's role as Teet Hui's savior and the announcement of their engagement. The eldest princess had been invited to act as matchmaker. My heart ached as I looked at Teet Hui. He smiled, his eyes fixed on Ha Tu with unmistakable tenderness. Ha Tu beamed, her cheeks flushed. "Teet Lang, I defied my parents and endured so much to care for you for 3 years. You cannot let me down." Her sweet words carried a deeper meaning. She was proving her devotion. The crowd erupted in congratulations, their voices ringing in my ears. My nails dug into my palms until they drew blood. It was me who saved him. I cared for him for 3 years. Ha Tu was a fraud, but I had to stay silent. I could not tell him the truth, because I had traded him for 100 taels of gold and the title of the Prime Minister's daughter. I had found Teet Hui while gathering herbs in the mountains. He was drenched in blood, his breath faint. Seeing the armor on his body, I knew he was a soldier who protected the nation. Without hesitation, I brought him home. For 3 days and nights, I barely slept, tending to him until he finally woke. His first thought upon waking was to return to the battlefield, but fate was cruel. His eyes were ruined. In his rage and pain, he smashed everything in my small home, shouting in anguish. Amid the wreckage, I said, "I can heal your eyes, but I have one condition." He demanded, "What is it?" The words 100 taels of gold danced on my tongue, but when I saw his face, my heart raced. Overcome by some strange impulse, I blurted, "I want you." A life saved deserved a life in return. Was that so unreasonable? He was stunned, his face twisting with shock and disgust, but he had no choice. Finally, he said, "Fine. If you can restore my sight, I will make you my wife." 3 years passed in a blur. When he was overcome with desire, he would growl, "Didn't you want me to repay you with my body? Why are you pulling away now?" I was pulled from my memories as the banquet continued. Seizing a moment when no one was watching, I tried to slip away, but a group of noble women stopped me. "I hear you're using the general's mansion to find a good husband," one sneered. If I had a relative with such ill intentions, I would never help her. They mocked me relentlessly, their eyes gleaming with envy when they looked at Ha Tu, but turning to me for amusement since they dared not cross her. I stood silently, enduring their taunts. I had already planned to leave this place. Offending these women would only bring trouble, and the mansion would never stand up for me. But then a woman in a bright pink dress spoke up. "Cousin, I know a man who likes plain women. Why not let me introduce you as his 36th concubine? He's a few years older, but experienced and kind. You'd be leaping onto a high branch. I'm sure my uncles and aunts in the mansion would agree." My face darkened, but I held my temper. "So unrefined, so uneducated," another sneered. "Don't interrupt before someone's finished speaking." I could take no more. "Why don't you introduce your friends to your cousin instead?" I shot back. The woman in pink glared. "Do you know who I am? I know your cousin has 35 concubines already. I wish your future husband luck in rising from the mud." Before I could respond, she raised her hand to slap me. An arrow thudded into the ground at her feet, making her stumble and fall. "My apologies," a calm voice said. My hand slipped. Teet Hoey stepped forward. "I will visit another day to make amends." A group nearby had been playing a game of shooting arrows into wine jugs. They waved their hands frantically, too afraid to accept his offer. Ha Tu approached, her face sour. "Everyone's waiting for you to show your skill," she said, tugging his sleeve. Teet Hoey followed her, listening patiently as she chattered on. I could not help but watch, lost in thought. From start to finish, he never once glanced my way. After he left, the noble women dispersed. "For the sake of your connection to the Ha family, we'll let you off this time," one said before they sauntered away. Connection. They had no idea. I was Ha Tu's half-sister, sharing the same father but not the same mother. From the moment I could remember, I had lived with my mother, surviving by gathering herbs. Though I had medical knowledge, as a woman, I could not practice openly. Saving a life was noble, but failing meant all blame fell on me. Life was hard, and when I was 13, my mother passed away. Before she died, she told me my father was a high-ranking official in the capital. 3 years ago, when the court searched for Teet Hoey, they found me too. My father, Ha Tu Quan, arrived with arrogance. "Your mother was just a herb picker, but you are my daughter. Showing your face now, what decency is left? Living with a man out of wedlock. Shameless. I can take you back, but as for Teet Hoey, I will say my younger daughter, Juju, cared for him." This was the father I had imagined countless times, and our first meeting was filled with his scorn. My mother had said they loved each other, that his concubines were a necessity. Were all men like this? If Teet Hoey knew the Prime Minister's daughter was infatuated with him, would he break his engagement for me? Probably not. He had never treated me with warmth. He teased me, enjoyed my flustered reactions, loved that I could not resist him, but he did not love me. I still remembered his whisper in my ear, "Ha Tu Quan, am I more handsome than other men? Did you force others to marry you with your life-saving deed? Was I the only one who fell for it?" His face was furious, as if he hated me for using my favor to bind him. I could not bear his intensity. His voice broke, and I could say nothing. He was always cold to me, yet so gentle and patient with Ha Tu. Though he could be fierce, I could not forget him. I could not forget how he called my name, over and over. Now, no one called me Ha Tu Quan anymore. The next day, I went to Ha Than to say I wanted to leave, to return to my small mountain village. He scoffed. "You're just like your mother, unaccustomed to a good life, lacking ambition." I offered to bring her to the capital, but she refused. He had written to her, asking her to come as a concubine. She, illiterate, had a scholar read the letter aloud. The scholar laughed. "Your husband is rising in the world, with a proper wife by his side. He says he can take you in, but only as a concubine." My mother's hands trembled as she took the letter, refusing to believe it. Years later, the scholar told me the truth before he, too, passed away. I buried him not far from my mother. He had never mocked her and taught me to read. Ha Than continued, "I brought you back to keep you in line, to protect Jeju's future. But you are my daughter. I will find you a decent match. Do not speak of leaving. If word spreads that Ha Than's daughter is living in squalor, where does that leave my reputation?" He summoned Vuongthi, who smiled and assured him, "Do not worry, my lord. I will find An Sinh a good home." After arriving at the mansion, I was renamed An Sinh. Ha Tu Quan became Ha Jeju's childhood name. The next day, she took me to a matchmaker. The woman fawned over Vuongthi. "Madam Ha, how could the young lady of your house come to a place like this? Just say the word, and we will visit the mansion." A book of potential suitors was placed before me. I glanced at it silently. Vuongthi said, "A girl like her cannot be too picky." The matchmaker agreed. "You cannot be greedy. You must know your worth." She showed me a portrait of a plump man with one arm missing. "Don't judge Chu by his looks. He's honest, has sold fried cakes for 30 years, and saved enough to marry. You'll manage the home, and he'll earn the money." Vuongthi added, "Your father gave you 100 taels of gold when he brought you here. That can be your dowry." I shook my head. I had spent it all. The matchmaker showed another portrait, a butcher who had beaten his wife to death. I kept shaking my head, unable to choose. Vuongthi sighed. "I fear I cannot find anyone to please you. I have failed the master." The matchmaker raised her voice. "Madam Ha is too kind. It is not your duty to find a home for a dependent." She pointed at me. "Girls like you, aiming too high, end up unmarried and unwanted." Her voice carried beyond the door. I was unworthy of good men, yet none of her choices appealed to me. Like my mother, I admire handsome men, only to be toyed with. If that is my fate, I will not marry. As Vuongthi and I left, a familiar figure stood outside Ha Jeju, with Teet Hui by her side. Had they heard the matchmaker's words? Vuongthi smiled warmly at Ha Jeju, who said shyly, "Teet Lang and I were buying hairpins and passed by." A hairpin from a man to a woman carried deep meaning. My heart sank, bitterness filling my mouth. Ha Jeju spoke again. "I heard the matchmaker has many suitors. Why did you not choose one, cousin?" So she had heard. I looked at Teet Hui. "What do you think? Who is someone like me worthy of?" He was usually quiet, so I answered for him. "The son of Minister Tran's household, perhaps. Unmarried, with a promising future." Ha Jeju looked startled. "What?" Teet Hui, unfazed, said, "If this young lady is truly the Prime Minister's daughter, she deserves a fine husband. I have several unmarried officers under my command. Lady Ha, you could meet them." He had just said I was unworthy. Why the change? Ha Tu relaxed, flustered but eager to change the subject. Before leaving, she shot me a glance. Vuongthi's triangular eyes narrowed as she sneered. An Sinh, do you understand your name? I did. It meant to live quietly, to know my place. After that, I was confined until Teet Hui came to propose. In the overgrown courtyard, I found a rare herb I had once searched for desperately. I had spent a day and night on the mountain for it, but now I had no desire to pick it. I remembered returning from that trip at dawn, seeing Teet Hui waiting at the mountain's base. Hearing my voice, he ran to me, embracing me tightly. His body was cold, his hair damp with dew. He must have travelled through the night, unfamiliar with the village paths, yet he found me. He kissed me, or rather, bit me, as if angry. Why had I left without a word? My mouth filled with the taste of blood. I struggled, insisting I had not abandoned him. As a healer, I understood he despised me but feared I would stop treating his eyes. But I never expected him to kiss me for nearly an hour, nearly suffocating me. When we returned, he was relentless, almost cruel. Haven't I hurt you enough? I gasped. He licked the blood from my lip. No vital harm. Be good, and I will not hurt you again. He was my husband, my patient, and a beautiful man. How could I not indulge him? The engagement banquet was nearing its end, but Teet Hui had not proposed. Ha Tu smashed things in her room in frustration. Ha Than summoned me. You lived with him for 3 years. You must know him well. Why is he hesitating? What has Jeju done wrong? He had always been blunt with me, openly replacing me with Ha Tu. He asked how she could improve, as if my life meant nothing to him. But I had my own plans. The guard on my wrist was made from burnt herbs. He thought Teet Hui and I had only shared affection, not intimacy. But we had. After Teet Hui's ravenous desires, I gave him contraceptive herbs, or I might have been pregnant many times. When he discovered Ha Tu was a fraud, Ha Than's lies would crumble. I stayed silent. The next day, Jeju invited him on a boat trip, and I was to pose as her maid. She glared at me but could not refuse her father's orders. Another maid, to own, was Jeju's confidant. On the lotus-filled lake, the boat swayed. Ha Tu nearly fell into Teet Hui, but he sat rigid as a pine. She ordered me to bring sweets and fed him with her delicate hands. His face was unchanged, his eyes dark, lips pressed tight. I knew that look. He was sulking. What was he angry about? The sweets. Being fed. No, he had once scattered rice on the table, hoping I would pity him and feed him. But I was busy eating myself. Now a beautiful young lady fed him, and he was still displeased. He did not open his mouth. Tuon said, "The young lady is so good to her husband." When the general was blind, she must have fed him like this. The air grew still. Ha Tu's face darkened. I looked at Tuon in panic. She was not the maid who had served Jeju before. The old servants who knew the truth had been silenced. Teet Hui suddenly spoke. "No, she never fed me. I ate cold soup and leftover meat. I broke into a cold sweat." He was not lying. Early on, he could not reach food and waited for my leftovers. Later, he learned to fumble for his meals. Once, he demanded I feed him. "Teet Hui, I am eating," I said, only for him to pull me close. "If you will not feed me, I will find food in your mouth." I wondered if he had some strange habit. Then, a commotion outside. Neighbors from the next village, the Lai family, had come again. I frantically adjusted my clothes, grabbing a broom. They burst in, seeing Teet Hui. "Hiding a man in your house at such a young age," Lai Dai sneered, noticing the cloth over Teet Hui's eyes. "Blind, yet you can afford to feed him, but not pay your debts," Teet Hui asked. "You owe them money." I explained, "Her mother killed my father." "How much does she owe?" In the past, I would have paid them and kept a knife ready. But this time, I refused. Years ago, the Lai patriarch fell ill and was turned away from the clinic. His wife wept by the road. My mother, though unqualified, could not bear it and treated him. His symptoms improved, and the Lai family was grateful. But when he died, they turned on my mother. While she lived, they demanded repayment, taking half our possessions. After her death, I paid to atone for her crime. The authorities ignored us. My mother had no license. I pulled Teet Hoi's hand. "This is my husband." His lips twitched faintly. Lai Ni mocked. "A blind husband? Better than me," I shouted. "Blind or not, he is better than ungrateful wretches who harass us." As they lunged, Teet Hoi grabbed my broom. I pulled out his armor. "My husband is a battalion commander," I declared. "He kills enemies on the battlefield. Touch us, and you will rot in prison." I did not yet know he was a general, but his armor was imposing. The Lai family hesitated, then attacked, believing him helpless. They fled, battered. Teet Hoi was injured too. I searched for medicine, frantic. He pulled me close. "I helped you so much. How will you thank me?" I kissed his cheek. He raised a brow. "That is all. You were amazing," I said sincerely. "You protected so many before. Now you protected me. Do not give up, you will be fine." He was stunned, then laughed. Why would I give up? The scholar in the village had said my intuition was sharp. Teet Hoi hated being forced to repay me with marriage, yet he was intimate with me constantly. After that day, he changed, though I could not say how. Back on the boat, Teet Hoi pushed Hajaju away. "I am sorry. I do not wish to recall that time." My heart stopped. Hajaju relaxed, feigning sympathy. "I will care for you well from now on." Her eyes flashed with malice toward me. Later, she lured me to the empty stern. "How did you care for Teet Hoi?" she demanded. I thought, then said, "I did not know he was a general. Had I known, I would not have asked him to repay me with marriage. Our worlds are too far apart. I would have cared for him respectfully and accepted gold as reward." Teet Hoi glanced our way, his face grim. The distance was too great for him to hear, was it not? Hajaju, suspicious, questioned if he liked her. I said I did not know, but he certainly did not like me. His dominance and intimacy had nearly swayed me, but I was not foolish. As for his feelings for her, his gentleness toward her was far greater than with me. She studied me, finding no clues, and left with a huff. But she was not done. Vuongthi arranged another matchmaking. This suitor, Dongtian, was pleasant, fair-skinned, soft-spoken, with a guard. He was honest, admitting he preferred men but would not restrict me after marriage. Vuongthi's choice made sense, and I considered it. A life without a husband's demands or concubines was appealing. Leaving, I ran into Teet Hoi, alone this time. He leaned against a carriage, raising a brow. "Lady Ha, what a coincidence." His tone was sour. Dongtian bowed. "I have long admired General Teet." Teet Hoi cut him off. "Dongtian, knowing you dislike women, why harm them?" Dongtian paled. I defended him. He was honest and courteous. "Be careful with your words." Teet Hoi's eyes fell on me. Speaking for him, Dongtian, grateful, left. Teet Hoi said, "Come with me. I have words for you." I refused. "We are not close, and you are my cousin's fiancé." "Speak here," he persisted. "Are you not eager to marry?" "I have many fine men under my command." I was furious. What business was it of his? Was he keeping his promise to introduce his men? His familiar scent enveloped me, tempting me. But he was not mine, never had been. My eyes stung. Impulsively, I said, "Dongtian, I will marry you." He stammered. "Truly," I insisted, deciding then and there. A man who preferred men was better than most, with no concubines or rival sons. Dongtian proposed. Harthin Than was delighted, gaining a powerful connection. He cared nothing for Dongtian's preferences, only urging me to bear a son quickly. Teet Hoi attended events but never proposed. Vuongthi sent maids to dress me for the wedding. With makeup, I was stunning, even catching the eye of Vuongthi's grandson. He cornered me repeatedly, and on the third time, he entered my courtyard. My grandmother says you will marry Dong Tian, who will not touch you. Why let no man have you when I can? His bulk pinned me down. I fought, but he struck me. No maids came. Vuongthi had planned this. My nails held a poison. Killing him would mean my death. But as he tore at my clothes, a maid shouted, revealing Hojia-ju's plot to ruin me publicly. Teet Hui burst in, kicking the man away and wrapping me in his cloak. Hojia-ju arrived, feigning shock. Cousin, engaged, yet behaving like this. Vuongthi tried to defuse the situation, but I could not stay silent. Clutching Teet Hui, I confronted Hojia-ju. Why trap me? Because I am Teet Hui's true savior. She denied it, but I continued. I gave you my name, Ha Tu Quan. I am Dong Tian's fiancé. What more do you want? Why hunt me like the servants who knew the truth? Teet Hui's arms tightened. He smiled. We share something on my body. How could we have no connection? Confused, I felt his hand guide mine under his cloak to his firm abdomen, then lower. Memories flooded back. Years ago, I was preparing medicine when he said, "We have not bowed to heaven and earth or exchanged vows." He had hidden his identity to avoid assassins. Play with herbs, stopping him. This sap is hard to clean, he grinned mischievously. That night, he wanted my name tattooed on him. I refused, suggesting he do it instead. He agreed, and I tattooed him, not myself. He was blind. Now, his fingers traced 3 crooked characters, Ha Tu Quan. You delayed me 3 years, abandoning me. Will you admit it? He knew Hojia-ju was a fraud. Why had he stayed with her? My face flushed with anger and shame. I closed my eyes, calming myself. So what if I am Ha Tu Quan? Hojia-ju spat. Teet Lang, she traded you for a title and gold. Yes, that was my mother's dream, and mine too. I gambled and lost. Ha Than had pressured me to leave, promising the best doctors for Teet Hui's eyes. I demanded 100 taels in 7 days, hoping Teet Hui would see me before I left. I failed. The gold was spent, but his sight did not return. I buried what little I had left and went to the capital. 3 months later, I heard his sight was restored thanks to Ha Than's doctors. Teet Hui said, "I do not care what she traded me for," but his words could not erase a year of pain. He and Hojia-ju were the talk of the capital. I endured humiliation, waiting for him, my heart growing cold. I pulled away. General Teet, respect yourself. I am Dong Tian's wife. The Dong family withdrew their proposal, fearing Teet Hui. The Ha family hated me but dared not act. I packed my meager belongings and left for my village. The journey was freeing, the mountains and rivers soothing my soul. In the first town, I heard Ha Than was punished for killing servants, though only demoted. I left herbs at a shelter for the disabled and poor, treating them despite my fears. In the second town, Hojia-ju was punished for impersonating Teet Hui's savior, and the Ha family's corruption was exposed, their wealth confiscated. In the third, Vuongthi's son died scandalously. I met an elder who taught me acupuncture in exchange for my herbs. In the fourth, I returned home, opening a small clinic. One day, I found someone in my courtyard, Teet Hui. I turned to leave, but he caught me, laughing bitterly. "Is this how you welcome me? Because I stopped you from becoming Dong's wife. I did not want to see him, not after loving and hurting for him." He sighed. "Wife, we were together 3 years. Can you abandon me?" I shook my head. "Fate is not measured in time. Your 3 years with me, your year with Hojia-ju, do you care?" He laughed, pulling me inside. "Ha Tu Quan, you still make me angry. I never touched Hojia-ju. Days after you left, I knew she was not you. I pretended to be blind. She was nothing like you, scheming, treating me like a servant. Do not cry." Seeing my tears, he softened. "Why cry? I have not teased you yet." His medicine had worked. I cried for my skill. He explained he had to return to the border, keeping Ha Tu to control her father's supplies. Protecting me and the household was safer until the time was right. I recalled Ha Tu's boasts of his kindness. He pulled me close, voice husky. Want to see my tattoo? I refused, fearing his torment. He gritted his teeth. Are you sure, Ha Tu Quan? You showed no jealousy when she fed me, said you treated me poorly because I was a general, even got engaged to Dong. The war ended, and he rushed back, only to find me gone. I kissed him, silencing his complaints. We tumbled together, lost in each other. He pinned me down. Ha Tu Quan, the border is secure. I have resigned. Wherever you go, whatever you do not leave me. Sell me if you must, I will follow. I nodded. I want to practice medicine. Stay with me, cheer me on, he grinned. Always.